I'm Asher Glick. This is our program, Flick. What it is not a screen sharing program, it's a window sharing program. It allows you to take windows off of one computer and send them to another computer and vice versa.
So what do we mean by a window sharing program? So what that actually means is as opposed to the traditional method where you have your display simply mirroring another person's, it's actually the movement of a window running a program with the interface to it being sent across a network connection to another person's terminal so that they can work with it and possibly send it back to you. So what this really does is it allows you to kind of integrate your computing environment with someone else's and kind of seem like it's a collective system for collaboration instead of kind of a disjointed, unorganized, and restrictive system that actually dampens productivity as opposed to increases it.
Flicky is not VNC or remote desktop. You don't share the entire screen. You don't share any of your screen. You take windows off of your screen and give them to somebody else. As of right now, the layout seems to be that only one iteration of your program will be available on any screen, but future versions will show that you can have the same program running on different people's screens at the same time, and they're all able to edit it. As well as if you ever disconnect from the network, as you're not going to leave your windows behind on the other computers. They'll just be forced back to you. And if I pass a window over to Tor and he starts deleting all of my stuff, I can always force the window back to my computer.
So what this really lets you do is, like I was saying before, communicate in a way that's not possible in a group, because sharing a computing terminal is not something that if you've ever tried to have sit two people in front of a laptop to write a report, it's not as effective as giving people the usability of the same thing in their own workspace. So they don't have to look at the same perspective. They can have their own, like I said, iterations of the program, of the window, open and modify it and share it more freely.
Flick works mainly using the X window system. It just renders the program on somebody else's screen, treating it like another screen. But for more advanced versions, like if you want to flick an application up with your iPhone, it will use customized VNC terminals and make it actually look like your application is coming off of your tablet device or your phone. And it'll appear on your computers just as if your mobile device was a computer.
So that's great and all, but how would you actually, a real physical example of when this would be used? Well, let's say that Alice, Bob, Chad, and Deb are all working on a project in our suite, and they're actually doing research for a company in Colony, which is working with partners in Albany, but the CEOs in New York City. All these people can, through the use of a SSH tunnel X window, SSH tunnel, send the interface data for the application to the remote locations, have those people contribute their input, and send back completed versions. And none of the people even have to have all the same program like Word or the same operating system. It's actually just the internet.
Now, because we can't actually currently show you a working demo, which is completely unfortunate, we have a video.
The project is to write the program.
So yeah.
You may be familiar with Attic.
Your windows. Now back to mine. Now back to your windows. Now back to mine. Sadly, they aren't mine. But if you stop using that crappy VNC protocol and switch to Flick, your windows could be mine. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're in a meeting with the team your team could work like. What's in your window? Send it to me. I have it. It's amazing that I can edit it. Look again. The window's back on your screen. Anything is possible when you use Flick and not remote desktop. I'm on a server.
These are semester goals, and these are the things that we'd like to, as was laid out for us in a more feasible fashion. We're showing you what we're definitely going to do, what we'd like to do, and what we'd really like to do if we could. Part of the original idea of this program was that you could interact with it with a gesture, so that things like the Connect that could identify depth, and it could identify the gesture of, say, flicking it to the right, and you could have a window open and your webcam pointed at you. There'd be an algorithm to figure out how your gesture was moving with your hand, and you could move, and it would ask, who's on your right? And then it would look for a list of people on your subnet, and you'd select one, and people also running the Flick service. You'd select one, and they'd simply be on your right next time you threw the window that way, and when they threw the window back to the left, they would come back to you.
You could line up a ton of computers right next to each other and take one window and see how far you could throw it down all the computers.
So we're looking at, in the first place, getting that to work cross-platform, so we can have full interaction like that. But we're also looking to do a sort of GUI to have to implement features like Asher talked about for owning and moving window, and also grabbing and yanking it back. The gesture integration is pie in the sky.
Any questions? Yes.
I'm a little confused. I think, is this one window that you can send across to different computers, or can you split it and have it on both computers at the same time?
As of right now, all it's going to be is the first option. But the way we're trying to do it as well is that you can also go into like presentation mode and split your windows to anyone connected in your work group.
But only one person can actually work with it at a time?
What it'll be is it will, yeah, pretty much only one person can work with it, though you'll be able to switch who can work with it, but everybody will see
But
it.
everyone else can do it.
Yeah.
So how does it compare with Screen? Have you heard of Screen?
Screen?
The terminal multiplexer?
Yes. It's kind of like a terminal multiplexer that you'd be able to use with the graphical user interface and not have to know necessarily what's going on in the background. So a business situation could use it in its meeting collaboration.
So two questions. One is, who did the voice?
That was me.
Oh, nice job. And then two is, will it only work with X Windows applications?
Well, there's this library called Xmang on Windows. That's one option that we're heavily considering. There's also the option of not using X Windows specifically, but W, and that's very like esoteric right now. But so we'll stick with X Windows. But
Okay.
There's a library that lets it you just like the X Windows system on Unix Xbox.
Okay.
Called Xmang.
So I know with Skype, if you sort of do a video check with someone, then you can share either their entire screen or a window, but the frame rate, it's not necessarily good. So in presentation mode, like, would the frame rate be choppy or what?
It really depends on a bunch of different things. Obviously, if you have a really low bandwidth, everything will lag out. But what we're trying to do is trying to make it so that the screen isn't like copied off of another computer, like VNC, and that it's actually re-rendered on everybody's computer. So it wouldn't look choppy, but it would not work as fast as the person's next to you.
Depending on your connection.
Yeah.
So when you switch that window over to somebody else's screen, like it's running, all the processes of that function, of that program are all running on the original computer, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just being re-rendered.
Yeah.
So how much interaction does it require from like the host computer of that window? Like, would you be able to have just like a server where let everybody access without somebody actually, actively flicking it to another computer?
In theory, yeah, you could. Yeah. But you could also like take two computers and connect them over a crossover cable and have the same interface.
Right, but it would
Yeah.
just be interesting if you could have one big server that was running everybody's programs across everybody's different screens.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll do a terminal services kind of setup.
With
going to ask first if you were sending bitmaps around, but you said like you're trying not to do that. So, I mean, how are you implementing it? Are you like proxying X or something? And then how do you do Windows to X?
Well, the way that X tunnel went through
Like
that
you can't move from display with an X app. You can't move from display to display.
Well, it's just interchanging. Like if you're running an X server and I'm running an X server,
Right.
then we all have windows with colon number
Yeah.
interfaces. But that information is on my machine.
Right.
But your machine is running the same sort of thing.
Right.
So why couldn't your machine be rendering?
Because X at the point that you want to open a display, you have your app and stuff.
Well, that's why you can select to do
But
that.
I'm saying like how are you
Doing
doing it? Like, are you proxying the X protocol or something?
We'd have to investigate that.
Yeah.
For the technical details that go into it.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, that's
Yeah.
what our project is. To find out
Yeah.
how to do that.
You should look at people have implemented X proxy in the past, and no one really got it working well, but that's how people have tried to approach it in the past. And then Windows becomes difficult because with basically
Yeah, your own
some,
some
yeah.
reporting, but we can make that sort of integrated all of it. That would be ideal. Question?
Thank you. The next